on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here to talk about a special video on one of our Ready to Love family members, Camille and Cornelius. The news is out. The news is out. Camille and Cornelius have broken up. It's been a while since they broke up, I believe, because I know several months ago someone had directed me. One of the viewers dropped down and told me, hey, I think Camille and Cornelius broke up. They directed me to their Instagram page. I looked it up, and sure enough, they both had wiped each other clean from their IG. And that's when I pretty much figured months ago that they had broken up. But hey, I'm not talking about it if they're not talking about it. That wasn't none of my business. But now that the cat is out of the bag, in fact, I know Camille has made a public statement on her own IG. Cornelius is quiet as a sheep. Camille says, this isn't something I feel obligated to share, but I'm choosing to do so to bring clarity and ease some of the questions from those who genuinely care. She basically saying for those who genuinely care and not for all you other people out here just doing a YouTube videos. Girl, Camille, we can read between the lines. Shady Camille is still at work. But anyway, she says, Cornelius and I are no longer together. And that has been the case for some time now. I believe it. Yes, it's been a while, y'all. I'm telling you, it was before this season in Detroit even came on. This was even going back to a previous show, Philly. It's been a minute. It has, and let me tell you, and even when I discovered it, I believe it had been a minute since then. But she goes on to say that what we shared was real, and in many moments, it was truly beautiful. We met during filming in 2021. We're now in 2026, so 5 years ago. 5 years ago. Remember, y'all, Camille was the one that wanted to be married within 6 months. This is 5 years later. But anyway, we met during filming in 2021, and our connection was almost instantaneous. Girl, you chose him instantaneously, but okay, I digress. And was never about attention, appearances, or gaining anything from the public eye. Our intention was simply to try to build something meaningful, loving, lasting, and rooted in faith. Cornelius is a beautiful person inside and out. While our paths didn't align in the way I once hoped, there you go, girl, that she had once hoped. And though we never made things official, there it is, official, I've come to peace with that. So I read between the lines, they were never actually married. And I've told people that from the very beginning. That scene on Ready to Love, when we saw them get married by Tommy, I knew was not a real wedding. Because the reason why I knew, let me tell you why I knew. I knew it wasn't a real wedding because I don't think that's what Camille would want for her wedding. You got to remember, Camille was engaged 3 times. She's now been waiting for this man to marry her for 5 years. Do you think she wouldn't want all of her real family and friends there? Do you really believe she would get married in front of some strangers? And at that time, it was the cast of Ready to Love Philadelphia. No, she wouldn't agree to that. That's why I knew it wasn't real. I knew it was fake. And we find out that, as she says here, we never made things official, which means they never were legally married. It's the case of Mendices and Yandy all over again. And she says she's come to peace with that, which tells you it wasn't her wish, which we're going to talk about that. And she goes on to say, I sincerely wish him nothing but happiness in life and in love. And I will always be grateful for the beautiful moments we shared. I believe that good and honest people always find their way forward. And I know he will be just fine. He will be just fine. It's almost as if she's saying she was the one to walk away from Cornelius. And it wasn't Cornelius who walked away from her. And I know a lot of you believe it was Cornelius who broke up with Camille, because a lot of you probably believe from the very beginning, you probably believed she was too much. She was too this. We all saw Camille's personality and we all had the same opinion. And a lot, and I can't say we all did, but a lot of us did, that she was a lot. She was over the top. She was bossy. She was confrontational on the show, her and Zadia, all that. But if any of you guys were watching my channel, because on that Ready to Love season, I had just started my channel. And when I saw Cornelius and Camille, by the end of the season, I said on my videos, he's never going to marry her. And I didn't say that because, you know, I'm thinking what a lot of people are saying. Oh, you know, Camille's too much and she talked down to him. No man's ever going to put up with that. I said it because I never even believed ever that Cornelius would marry her. Not because of that. Because as much as I believe that Camille had a lot to work on, I believe she was given false hope by this man, Cornelius. And I said it back then. I said, people are so concentrating on Camille's behavior, but people are not actually looking at who Cornelius is. And what I said was, Camille, don't do it. Don't be fooled by him. He's never going to marry you. This is all a big, I don't know, smoke and mirrors. That's why, do I believe that Cornelius was the one that broke it off with Camille? I can believe no. I can believe that it was Camille who finally said, I'm no longer willing to be in a relationship with all of this false hope, all of these broken promises, all of these things you were never, ever going to deliver. I think she finally realizes he never had any intentions on delivering any of this. And when I say deliver, I mean a wedding, a marriage, and a child, because that's what Camille wanted. And I said, it doesn't add up. And when Cornelius explained to Camille everything that would have to change for him to marry her, I said, he's never going to marry her. He said that first Camille would have to go to individual therapy to resolve the issue around her personality, being too much of a mouth, popping off, all these things. He said she's going to have to go to individual therapy. Guess what? Camille did it. Camille did it. And in fact, the last couple of times we saw Camille, she was much more subdued. You know, it was almost like he sent her to a boarding school, you know, etiquette school. And she came back, having learned a few tricks. But then he said, the other thing I would need is we can't have sex. Can't have sex before marriage. And I said, wow, 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, you're going to be in a relationship, a loving relationship, and you're never going to be tempted to want to have sex with her or have sex with her? I didn't believe it. And then he started taking these naked pictures with Camille. And I said, look at these naked pictures. Who asked for these pictures? Do I believe it was Camille who wanted these naked pictures? No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I believe it was Cornelius. Okay? So remember, we got a man who says he wants to honor a woman's body by not violating it prior to marriage. But yet, what he's willing to do is parade her in front of America naked. Naked. You see, people are so fixated on Camille's behavior. They're not watching the puppeteer who was Cornelius. Okay? People want to say that Camille was too bossy, trying to boss Cornelius around. Camille was never in charge of this relationship. If Camille was in charge of this relationship, they would have been married. He would have fallen in line. He would have done what she wanted. But if y'all remember, one of the biggest frustrations of Camille with Cornelius was that he didn't fall in line. If you remember, Camille would bite at other ladies, bark back at other ladies, because what she didn't feel Cornelius did was Cornelius did not want to close the door to other ladies. Cornelius did not want to tell other women, no, it's Camille. Back off. It's just me and Camille. And that's what used to frustrate Camille. And Camille would call him. This is what I said on my own videos. Camille would call Cornelius a country bumpkin because he was from, like, I don't know, Arkansas, Alabama, something like that, Tennessee, something. And she was from, I forget where she was from, Memphis. I don't know where she was from. But what she always said was, Cornelius a country bumpkin. He don't see the ways of these women out here. He don't see these sneaky ways of women. And so I've got to protect him, right? Like Cornelius is a lamb out here in the streets. And she had to protect Cornelius from all these women. And I kept saying, Cornelius is not the lamb. He's not the lamb. He's the puppeteer. He's the master. You see what I'm saying? Camille had a false hope. She had a false sense that she was a leader in the relationship with Cornelius. But every step of the way, it was Cornelius who reined in Camille and put the brakes on Camille. Okay? You saw maybe what Camille wanted to be, right? You didn't see what she became, how Cornelius corralled her and contained her. Camille didn't get anything in this relationship that she wanted. How can she be the leader? How can you be a leader? How can you be running the show like a lot of you may be thinking, but yet you got nothing you wanted? Okay? So he told her she'd have to go to individual therapy. She did it. He told her they'd have to go to couples therapy. They probably did it. He then told her that she'd have to get rid of all that student loan debt. This is what I remember. I could be wrong, but I remember a conversation around Camille and all her student loan debt. Remember, Camille was like, what's the girl on Real Housewives of Potomac? Wendy Osefo with 4 degrees, 5 degrees. That was Camille. PhDs, masters, bachelors, and debt to go with it. Lots of it. And for what I remember, my memory could be bad because I'm getting old. You know who helped her pay off that student loan debt so that she would be more pleasing to the eye of Cornelius? It was her family. That's what I believe. Like I said, I could be wrong. Another obstacle, another stipulation he gave her to keep her trying and trying and trying, but never really had any real intentions on marrying her. Camille at the time was 41 years old. This was 5 years ago. She had a biological clock ticking. Cornelius was younger. I said, well, if you're going to have babies with Camille, you gotta get started. Yeah, we got surrogacy. Yeah, we got in vitro fertilization. Yeah, we got modern technology, but that's not what they was banking on. That's not what they was banking on. And Cornelius wasted Camille's time. He wasted her time in her thinking that he was going to ever marry her. Like I said, false hope. Now, why didn't Camille see it? Because Camille wanted what she wanted, what she wanted. And Camille inaccurately looked at whether or not these two lives were going in the same direction. Cornelius was trying to pose naked and become a model. Camille was trying to settle down, have a family, and you know, live in a nice house in the DC DMV area. Okay, she got a son. Another thing I said is Cornelius going to assume responsibility and parenting for the son. He had a dad, an active dad. Camille always said that. But was Cornelius going to be ready to take on that? I didn't believe he was. Didn't mean he couldn't love that boy. Couldn't mean that he couldn't be a good role model for that boy. Of course he could. But did he really want to step in and play that role? I never believed it. I never believed any of this because I never believed Cornelius. So in a lot of ways, like I said, I feel like Cornelius had Camille hanging on like a thread, hanging on to false hope. You see what I'm saying? Even this wedding that they had on Ready to Love, who do you guys think's idea that was? You think it was Camille's idea to have a fake wedding on TV and never sign the papers? No, I don't believe so. I think it was Cornelius. I think once again, Cornelius likes to offer up consolation prizes because he really doesn't want to do what you want him to do, right? He really is what you call a passive aggressive type personality. He may not say it out loud. He may not bark back, but he don't move. You see, everybody better get in touch with a passive aggressive personality, one in which that isn't loud, doesn't stomp, doesn't yell, doesn't scream. But if you watch them, they're really not bending in the direction of anyone. They really are marching to the beat of their own drum, you see. And what people got twisted around with was Camille had the bark. She was loud. She was boastful. She was out there. But nothing about the way they moved and shaked ever proved that Camille was the leader in this relationship. She never was the leader. Cornelius was always in charge and always having false hope. And it was Cornelius who likes the spotlight. He likes the spotlight. So this little fake wedding that they had with Zadi as the matron of honor or whatever, and I think Corey was the best man, I believe it was all Cornelius. I sure do. I don't think Cornelius ever was going to marry Camille, but what he was happy to do to get back on TV and have a fake wedding. Because what woman who's been waiting all these years to get married, 40-something years, wants to have this type of a wedding in front of a bunch of complete strangers from Ready to Love cast members from Philly? Not Camille. Remember, Camille bills herself as high class, upper echelon. This isn't something she would have wanted. And I believe the way Cornelius got her to do it was to say, let's just do this and we can have another big wedding later on. I think it was another old okie doke, another consolation prize. And in the end, as Camille said in her Instagram post, we never made it official, and I'll have to accept that. That tells you I'll have to accept it. It was not what I wanted. I went along with it to be in agreement because I was holding on to false hope, but enough is enough. And what she realized was this man has been lying all this time. Now she wants to say he's a nice guy. He got a nice heart. You see, that's the real, like I said in my earlier videos with Cornelius, that was the real danger with Cornelius, Because on the outside, he's a sheep. He's non-assuming. He's non-confrontational, not a threat. But if you watch the way that he moves, he's deliberate and he does not bend in the direction of people just because you want him to. And that was why, even on Ready to Love, she was always so frustrated. Because actually, what she was frustrated about was she didn't have as much influence over Cornelius as she wanted. And that's why she was frustrated. And it continued. So for 5 years, they dated and they created this fake life, right? Not fake life in terms of their love or their care or whatever you want to call it, but it was a facade to the public because at this point in time, being on a Ready to Love, they didn't just go away. They came back on Ready to Love in our faces, okay? That's why at first I wasn't going to really say anything because I was like, hey, that's their private life. Go on, be married. But then they came back in front of the camera. And I said, well, if you go come back in front of the camera and lie to us, then I don't feel no kind of way about doing this video. But I believe it was Cornelius's idea, which might surprise some of you because some of you, if you remember my videos back then, I was not a fan of Camille, not a fan whatsoever. But what I saw in Cornelius for me was I'd rather have an outright, out loud, even if they irritate me, person like Camille, because then what I can do is say, she too much for me. I don't want to be around her. I don't want her for my friend, blah, blah, blah. I can turn away. But the Corneliuses of the world, you see, you never know who you're dealing with because he's too busy trying to be liked by everyone. He's too busy trying to be the perfect model, the perfect person. Who are you for real? You see, who are you for real? Not wanting to be the bad guy. So I'm sorry that it took Camille 5 years to get here. That's a long time. That's a long ass time. Okay. But I'm sure she's learned a lot of lessons. And maybe some people have learned some lessons watching their journey. But one of them everybody needs to learn is it's not the lesson that's obvious on the outside, which is Camille needed to learn to tame her tongue. She needed to learn to be respectful to other people, not only her man in her life, but to anyone around her because she was disrespectful to a lot of people. But one of the biggest things she needs to learn is she needs to tone down that ego, right? So that she can see another person. And when I said see another person is, if Camille didn't walk into the relationship with such an inflated ego, which is, this man gonna really want me because I'm pretty, I got a big booty, and I'm educated, and I'm melanated, you see? And her self-confidence, she exuded that in some ways. It made her overlook who Cornelius really was, you see? She made her overlook to say, there's a lot of women. You can be fabulous. You can be wonderful. You can be everything, but it doesn't mean you are right for every man. And when you're doing your own matchmaking, when you matchmaking yourself with other people, you got to ask yourself, he may be right for me. He may be the guy that I want, right? But am I the woman that he wants? And I think what Camille didn't do is she was thinking that if he tells me the woman he wants, then I can just become her. She believed it. He gave her false hope that I'm going to give you a whole list of things that I want you to become. And then after you become all of them, then I want you. No, that's not how it works. No. The man wants you now. The man, does any man want improvements? He does. He does. But when he had that many lists of criteria, that means Cornelius was walking around saying, I'm in the power position, I'm in the leadership position, and I'll let you know when I'm ready for you. And it never came. It never came, y'all. So, hey, there we go. That's my take on the update on the Ready to Love family tea. And I'm going to watch this week's episode. This week, we're going to the bridge, y'all. The couples are going to the bridge. So be sure to join me back here after I watch the episode. All righty. Talk to y'all later. Bye.